welcome to another episode of Nova SBE Futurecast. Today we are going to talk about health and AI. My name is Filipa Breia da Fonseca. I'm professor in management at Nova SBE, and I have here with José Pedro Almeida, specialist in AI. So welcome, José Pedro Almeida. My first question is, what's the fundamental shifts you are seeing when it comes to applying AI in healthcare?
Well, I think we need to level up our audience in terms of what happened in the last 12 months, the breakthroughs that we are seeing in AI, which if we had been doing this interview 1 year ago, did not exist, and we would be talking about something completely different. But basically, we are facing what I would say the new internet, and I think most people have not yet realized that, and the impact that will have in any industry, and in healthcare in particular, due to the volume of data that healthcare generates and how it is lagging behind other industries in terms of applying AI. So explaining the fundamentals, basically neural networks, which are an area of AI, which were here for more than 50 years, they didn't worked as well as they do now. And the reason is that there were some entities that were able to train with a new architecture these neural networks in almost any data that you can find on the web, text data, but also images, and compressed that information into knowledge. And so basically, we nowadays have an AI that almost understands everything about the world. And that is highly game-changing because those models are now able to understand our language and will be able very soon to act for us. Mm-hmm. And why is that important in healthcare? Because healthcare, if you look at how much time a physician spends with a patient, for each hour a physician is with a patient, there are more 2 or 3 hours for each hour that it spends on paperwork, mm-hmm. on sending emails, on checking lab results, medical image.
And don't look for the patient, for example.
Yes, and what I've seen some articles saying that it's almost desktop medicine, mm-hmm. which is the doctor is not with the patient, is mm-hmm. with the desktop. And so with this new breakthrough, we are entering a phase where the computer is not only a tool, but starts to be a teammate. Okay. And that is highly powerful because suddenly the computer can do things for us, not only in medicine, but also in our life, that were impossible to achieve until nowadays, because the computers and the AI in particular was very, what I would say, dumb. And I can give you an example in healthcare. If you would train a model to understand in a CT scan of a long CT scan, if the CT scan has a long nodule, you would have to hire a large team, more than 10 people sometimes, train the model during months or even years, and you have to say to the model, where is the long nodule in the CT scan? Mm-hmm. You would have to show them the model, thousands of images with long nodule, without long nodule, and a few iterations later, the model would learn how to distinguish a patient that has a long nodule from the one who has not. But the problem is that medicine is not only a CT scan. Medicine is all the broad spectrum of data, the clinical history of the patient, the lab results, the vital signs, the drugs he is taking. All of that is taken into account when a doctor is deciding the next health course for a patient. And these models nowadays, they are able to ingest not only text, but sound, video, image, and understand what is there and understand the correlations between the information. And so when you have such a powerful entity, that entity suddenly can start working for you. And who knows, I think we will get there very soon, understand the medical image as well in a lot of spaces as a radiologist would do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing your information. My second question is about this Gen AI technology also. I have heard to say that this new Gen AI technology will open up a road for an unprecedented level of safety and efficiency. Why do you say that? What is your opinion about this?
I think that most of us as citizens, we understand that healthcare is not at the same level in every place and at every time. What I mean by that is that sometimes you have to be lucky if you are with a young doctor versus a senior one. Mm-hmm. If you go to an hospital, and you know that, Filipa, because of your research, if you go to an hospital on a Friday evening or if you go on a Monday morning. And so I think we need to look at how this technology can level up each one to perform at the top of their license. And how is that achieved? Because if you look at how medicine is done nowadays, is mostly, doctors and the relationship between doctor and the patient is registered in a database in a form of clinical notes. And we are seeing that more than 80% of healthcare data is unstructured, which means that those clinical notes are only worth for that relationship. They are not used for anything else. It's only for the moment when the doctor is with the patient. But nowadays, as this intelligence is able to read all that information and understand what is written over there, and contextualize that information and with all the medical guidelines, you can imagine that an healthcare organization will be able to be looking at all its patients in all the beds, mm-hmm. And crossing what the clinical course that is being decided for each patient with the best guidelines that are available nowadays, and doing this in real time. This is impossible to achieve. Mm-hmm. This is very human labor nowadays, and it's one by one, it is dependent on that specific doctor. But I think we will see these teammates looking at all the clinical processes in real time, every day, every minute, crossing with the clinical guidelines that are available and flagging situations where the best approach to care is not being taken. And sometimes it's not because the doctor is not the best one. He might be tired. He is unable to read the 5,000 papers that come out about his specific area. But this what I call these agents that we will see, these teammates, these assistants, will be able to do that. And so they will work for them. And what that will bring is a level of safety and efficiency that is unprecedented. We haven't seen that before.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And in your opinion, why is it so hard for tech companies to transform healthcare? So how's the operation system of healthcare different?
It's quite complex, as you know. You have studied the system quite well. I think that health tech companies have been selling the wrong message, which is sometimes they go through the hype. Someone, CEO, goes to a conference, sees an AI thing, he wants that thing, and you have a technology company selling an AI for a problem that probably the company doesn't even know if that's meaningful for clinical practice. What I believe is that you need to build this from the inside. Of course, you can make use of external vendors, but you need to build this with the teams, understand the problems deeply, because healthcare is a nice-takes business. You cannot simply plug technology and expect that to work. You have to understand the consequences, for instance, of a model predicting a certain thing, and what are the consequences of the doctor or the nurse that will pick up that prediction and take action. Because just to give an example, nowadays these models are not yet very prone to do mathematics, and if you are, for instance, predicting the dosage that a nurse needs to give of a certain medication to a patient, if you give the wrong doses, you can kill the patient. And so that's why I think technology companies have been selling the wrong message. They should not sell the technology or the AI. They need to sell that they are solving a clinical problem, work with clinical teams, and then if AI comes along, even better.
Could help us a little bit. Okay. And what's the technical and organizational framework that needs to be put in place for the AI transformation to happen, in your opinion? What do you think about this?
I think there are two vectors. One of them is in terms of technology. So nowadays, all the organizations that you see, not only in healthcare, but in healthcare in particular, are running at the speed of IT. What that means is that all those old systems that you never change, because it's an high-stakes business, you cannot stop an healthcare organization. They keep running for years and years and years. You have a lot of legacy systems. And the organization cannot move at a faster speed because it is stuck to those systems. So the first thing you need to do is separate data, digital, and AI from the IT transformation. What that means is that you need to build something sideways, take all the data there, and start doing the transformation there, and gradually you will be bringing this intelligence into the game, and clinicians will start using it for each workflow one by one. And so you will realize that a few years later, everyone will be using this new intelligence and not the legacy systems. So that I think you need to do that path on a technology mindset. But at the same time, in terms of execution, this cannot be disconnected with the role that the senior leadership team and the CEO in particular has to transform the organization, because this is a huge transformation in terms of the way people do their jobs. It will change quite significantly. They will do their jobs helped by an AI assistant.
Okay.
And sometimes this can represent more than 50% of your tasks being delegated to that assistant. And so for the organization to learn this technology, to absorb that this is important, and to give priority to this, you need to have a highly committed senior leadership team. We called it the bold stroke message, like every month you need to be sending this message to the field. And I believe you also need to have members in the senior leadership team that are highly prone to this technology, that have studied how it should be implemented. And that is the role of a chief AI officer or a chief data and analytics officer.
Okay. And one last question, it is about the future. How do you envision the future of AI for hospitals and care transformation, and also for consumers and patients, of course?
In terms of hospitals and healthcare organizations, I believe, I don't know if it will happen in Portugal, because in Portugal we are a bit slower than, for instance, in the US in bringing innovation inside. But I believe we will see a relationship between doctor and the patient where there is no computer in the room. And why do I say that? First of all, you can see an example that is already being deployed for 10,000 doctors in Northern California by Kaiser Permanente. They are working with a French company that came out of Facebook, which is called Nabla. And what they do, they came out from Facebook AI research. And what they do is they capture the clinical dialogue that is being taken during the visit, and they register that dialogue in a very structured way in the electronic patient record. So the doctor doesn't need to be writing all the time what he's saying to the patient. So this is being deployed already to 10,000 doctors. But much more than that, I think we will see, because this is not enough to automate the conversation and the need to have a computer. The computer needs to analyze blood samples, medical image, and to bring to the doctor that information. And I think we will see that because these models are very capable of analyzing all types of data. Just an example, we have just seen Google, which has a huge model in healthcare that is called MedPalm. That model, just by looking at thousands and thousands of medical images of X-ray, suddenly started detecting tuberculosis without nobody ever taughting the model how to do it. And so why is that? Because as you scale the computer power and data, and you show millions and millions and millions of images with the corresponding medical report, of course, the model understands what is in that image. We are starting to see this, what we call emerging properties. So suddenly the model started learning to program, for instance, which means they can build software nowadays. And so we are seeing with the Google MedPalm model that is fine-tuned to healthcare, that these medical images can be understood. And so if they can be understood, these assistants or agents can go out and look at all the information about that patient, bring that into the outpatient visit, but also in terms of, for instance, an inpatient episode. So all the clinical diaries of every visit, the discharge note that the doctor needs to write, every step of somehow bureaucracy that happens there will be automated. And after the visit, when the patient is alone at home, we are also seeing some companies automating calls for chronic patients to understand if they are taking their medication every step of the way. And you cannot do that with a human because you cannot scale to every chronic patient. Just in the US, you are talking about 70 million chronic patients. It's impossible. So I think we will go through that journey. On the consumer side, which is every one of us as patients, I'm quite sure that we will see also a revolution, if not similar, even higher, because we will have this intelligence nowadays is centralized in these big tech companies like OpenAI, but we are seeing a trend which is these models are starting to be smaller in terms of being able to what we call work at the edge, which is they can be almost installed in your mobile phone, which means that every consumer, every patient will have access to the best medical knowledge out there, real time, updated with all the papers you can think of. You don't have that today because each and every one of us Googles is healthcare, but finds a bunch of links that are not validated. But these models will be validated with clinical data. They will have access to the New England Journal of Medicine in real time, PubMed, all of that. And so they will be able to inform us as patients about, and they will know more about our health, because then you can connect this with the wearables, with our clinical history that might be separated in several healthcare organizations. They will know more about our health than probably our doctor. And so this to say that these consumers and patients will arrive at the doctor's office much more informed. Also, they will contest some clinical decisions much more, which is, something to be discussed. But I think that at the same time, they will arrive much sooner because as they understand their health much better, and when I say their health, it's not only the clinical problems, it's also the food, nutrition. So because these models will be your assistants for everything. We call this the multitask intelligence. So it's not only about healthcare, the model will also know about food, about your lifestyle habits and all that. So taking all that into account, we will arrive at the doctor's office much sooner than we arrive today. So I envision that to happen, not in 10 years, but probably in 5.
Okay. Thank you so much, José Pedro Almeida,
Pleasure
for sharing
to be with you.
all the information. And see you soon.